David Bosscher and Cyd Charisse are co-founders of Destroy the Hairdresser. They both have about 16 years of industry experience. They have been published and featured in top magazines, including Vogue. They've both been coaching hairdressers for over 10 years, and they have just about to hit the 10-year mark of running Destroy the Hairdresser. Today, we're going to find out what exactly is Destroy the Hairdresser and what was their journey to get here and what do they do. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong Show. My name is Robert Hughes, and I'm your host. Today, I'm with David and Cyd from Destroy the Hairdresser. How y'all doing today?
Excellent.
Awesome. Good. So we were talking a little bit beforehand about what we'll talk about today. And so in the introduction, I said that we get to know your story and learn about Destroy the Hairdresser. I think that sounds like a perfect place to start. So why don't you all tell me a little bit about maybe some high level of how what your hair journey looked like leading up to either meeting each other or deciding on Destroy the Hairdresser.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So just quickly, I started doing hair in my kitchen when I was 14. And long story short, I had a friend who had really long hair and I cut all of her hair off, and her parents tried to sue my family for assault or something insane.
What?
And my dad came to me actually and said, are you actually going to stop doing this? Because it wasn't the first time I'd done it. And I was like, no, I'm probably going to keep doing it. And he's like, okay, I'll make you a deal. I will pay for hair school. You have to go every day after school, because I was still in high school. And in the summer, you have to go full time. And you don't have to work a summer job, because I'm Midwestern. So you start working when you're 12. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I never really thought I was going to be a hairdresser. I just said yes because I was doing it in my kitchen and I wasn't going to stop. And I now look back and I'm like, I think my dad needed a way for this court case to be he's in hair school. But it all worked out. And that's all I've ever done. I've never done anything but work in the salon industry, from managing, from educating. I've been a partner in a salon. I've done every behind the chair, color, cut, really everything. And it wasn't until I met Cyd when I started working for at Aveda corporate. I met Cyd, and I learned a lot about what goes on in the business and in the back end and all that kind of stuff. And that's where we met and kind of decided, hey, I think we can help hairdressers without being connected to a product company. That was kind of the main, because there was really no other way to get help at the time, in my opinion.
Social media wasn't a thing.
Yeah, exactly. I just remember anything that you wanted had to be connected to a product company. And I was like, we could just help people because we want to help people. And that's kind of what we did. So that's kind of how I got where I am.
My mom was a hairdresser and I grew up in the salon. So I definitely had firsthand experience of watching someone that I'm emotionally attached to just kind of struggle in this industry. And I remember when I told her I was going to be a hairdresser, I dropped out of college, I quit nursing, and I was like, I want to be a hairdresser. And I remember she cried because she was like, you've just ruined your whole life, because it's just all her friends, they retired with nothing to show for it besides carpal tunnel and some bad knees. So there was nothing. And, I remember being like, I'm going to fucking do it differently. This isn't an option. I want to do it differently. And, I did go to the Aveda school, and then I quickly started working in a salon, became top educator, became manager of the salon, started running the salon, got poached to be investor in salon and go work in other places. And I was like, nope, I'm going to work for corporate. And so I actually went to go teach because that seemed to fuel my fire at the time. And again, that's where David and I just collided. It was everything we were working for came to one. We were definitely a lot younger then, so we had a lot of angst and fire and
energy.
Fire and energy. We're so tired.
A lot more energy 10 years ago.
we were like, we have to start talking about this. And at the time, like, I think Instagram had just come out. Like, the world wasn't what it is now, you know? And so we started just writing about it, like in a blog, and just started talking about our ideas. And like, people would just look at us like we were crazy, because they're like, that makes so much sense. But at the same time, like, that's also terrifying. Like, you're truly choosing to go against what everyone else is doing. And we slowly started just to help people. Like, we started to just talk to salons and talk to hairdressers, and started to pave the way. We actually, like, we've talked about this before, but we actually created the idea for DTH, like, on a napkin. Like, I remember David coming to me and being like, I have this idea. We have to do it. This is everything we've been talking about. Like, we need to push it forward. And we did. We moved to New York City with like no money in our pockets. And we started going and working at multiple salons in New York City, and started practicing our methods as stylists from a stylist perspective, and started talking to the salon owners and like really getting them to understand like big picture. So like, we came in and like infiltrated, and were able to start kind of the base level of what we were doing at DTH. And the minute word got out, it was like students were flocking at us to try to join. It's kind of been like that ever since.
Okay, so this is really interesting. So let's go back real quick. So David, you said you went to school, and then you worked. It sounds like you jumped around, maybe worked at multiple salons. You wore multiple hats. Could you just give us like a little quick chronological order? Like, how many salons did you work at before? Because this also sounds like you went from maybe your hometown to New York.
Yeah.
So could you give us just like the quick, like, I worked in 2 salons, and I was a stylist, a manager, an owner, whatever, and then I moved, or whatever it is.
So I started school in Michigan, and then I finished school in Florida. And I did not go to Aveda. I just went to like a regular school. And I got out and I went and worked for an Aveda salon, because at the time it was like the most professional. And I've always loved business. My dad's an entrepreneur, so I've just always been business oriented. And I liked Aveda because there was a lot of structure around business. And so it's funny, because at Destroy the Hairdresser, we remove retail from the conversation entirely. And it's like Cyd and I are pros at selling retail. But I remember we still do. And we just do it differently. But I remember at the time I was like, I want to be at a place that's like, I'm a hairdresser, but like, I want to take the business side very seriously. So I started working as an assistant for this woman in Florida that's a whole other podcast episode. And from there, that salon was purchased by someone else. And then I kind of grew really quickly after it got purchased. I was the only stylist that they kept that was in the team, and just became really close with the owners and played a large role there. Then from that salon, I went to another Aveda salon where I quickly became one of the top stylists. And then from there, going back a while, from there, there was a moment in time where I wanted to open a salon, my own salon. And one of my close friends, Tim Belcher, he used to work as a rep for Aveda. He was like, well, there's actually this salon nearby that's struggling. And I know that you're really good at business. So like, I think that you should make them an offer to like completely flip the salon, like flip a house. And I was like, okay. So I went and met with this person, and she was struggling. And I actually saw her at the premiere show this year. It was really nice to catch up, but she was struggling and she needed like help. She was like, everything's out of control. Our overhead is too high. I don't know how to hire, just everything, all the things that I knew how to do, mainly because I grew up in a family that just does business, but also just through my experiences. And so through working with her for a year, as a manager and I guess kind of consultant, I was paid as a consultant, I was able to increase her profitability by over, I think, 59%, which was crazy. And then I think we won that year a Salon Today award for that, for planned profitability and growth. And then from there, Aveda snatched me up as an educator. And then since then, it's been really about investing in salons. People always ask us if we have a salon. I'm like, Cyd and I have plans on having our own salon, but we love investing, and that's kind of like the business side of things that we really enjoy.
We kind of have hundreds of salons because we actively are running them every day.
Yeah, and also coaching, you feel like you have a million salons. But should we talk about the salons we want to open or no?
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Good. So you have so I love that because like part of the audience like is looking for in a lot of these conversations is like some of the actual steps that people took. So I think that what you're talking about is really interesting. You went from like working at salons to pitching yourself to help someone turn their business around, and then you got picked up by Aveda. So this salon was in Florida, is that correct?
Yeah. So
Okay.
after working for Aveda for a few years, I actually asked for a raise, and they told me no. They actually told me that I made enough money for my age, which is illegal, literally illegal.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that.
So they sent me, they basically asked like, what else do I want if I can't get a raise? And I was like, okay, send me to Fashion Week. Cause I had a plan. So I was like, send me to Fashion Week, which by the way, cost more than the raise that I was asking for. So they sent me to Fashion Week, and I was working with, oh my God, what's the designer's name? I can't remember the designer's name, but we were at like, I was in one of the main tents with one of the main designers, but next door there was another event getting ready, and it was Sally Hirschberger's team was doing it. And I just left my team and went over to the Sally Hirschberger team and worked with them because the Aveda team was so like structured and like, you're going to stand here and hand them clips. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then I like went over there, and then I connected with some people, and then I interviewed and I got the job at Sally Hirschberger's as her assistant for $8 an hour after making a salary at Aveda. So that was really hard and terrifying. And I remember calling my dad again and being like, okay, I was just offered this job with Sally Hirschberger for $8 an hour. It's a really, like, financially, it's a really bad idea, but like, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. And my dad's like, okay, just do it. Just like, go quit your job and move. So I like went back home, quit my job, sold my car, told Cyd goodbye, like I was going off to the army. And
we lived together at the time.
And then Cyd got a big fat raise because they were afraid that she was going to leave with me.
I got like double the amount he asked for. I left anyways, but still.
And so I worked for Sally for like maybe 6 months. It was a really, really bad experience. And that was also kind of feeding into like, there's got to be another way to do this. And I had 6 roommates, and I paid $500 a month to live in a closet in Brooklyn, and begged Cyd to come. Cyd showed up.
I lived in a 6x6 room for like $1,000
Then there was
a month.
4 roommates, and then it was just me and Cyd, and now we have real lives. So it's been an adventure since we started.
So when did you all meet? At what point in this story did you meet?
So we met in 2012 while we were still educating for Aveda. That's when like we started writing. That's when we started like going off to help people. And then within the next 3 years, we were in New York. He went first. I came right after. We were already starting the base level of what Destroy the Hairdresser was. And like I said, like we were running amok in New York City, working at different salons and talking to different salon owners and bringing on like our ideas. And I remember walking in to multiple salons and saying like exactly what we teach now. Like, I'm coming in, I'm working these many days, and I'm going to charge this much. And I remember some salon owners were just like, no, you can't. And a few were like, your confidence is beyond, like, yeah, I want you to come in charging $150 an hour, even though we don't charge hourly. I want you to come in working 3 days a week. Like, they were so like, you're so confident in this that you know what's going to happen. And what happened is it ended up trickling. Like, then the whole team started to do it, and it was awesome. So we started to really like work with salons on practicing our methods and making them work and seeing what needed to be tweaked as we were kind of building Destroy the Hairdresser and like teaching it and coaching and doing all that.
Okay, so before we get into the details, because you've already kind of started talking a little bit about some of the differences that you all are bringing to the industry through your Destroy the Hairdresser coaching and I guess coaching and system. Would that be an accurate way to say it? So let's talk about what is your story. Can you give us your story? How you went from like specifically like how many places did you work, what hats did you wear, to leading up to that point where you were talking about you and David started building Destroy the Hairdresser before you maybe even realized you were building Destroy the Hairdresser.
Yeah. So I went to the Aveda school in St. Petersburg, which I just found out they just tore down. So I was like, oh, I saw someone sent me the picture. They're like, they're tearing our school down. I was like,
build a high rise. 100%.
And they are building a high rise. I actually did this program. They offered it one time just for my class, and they never offered it again. But it was a program where after you graduated and took your tests, you could stay and pay longer to get more education, so that when you came out, you were so in advance compared to a lot of the people coming right out of hair school. And I decided to do that program because I wanted to bypass the whole assistant thing. From the get-go, I thought it was bullshit. I didn't want to spend 3 years like losing my craft when I should be advancing it and building a clientele. So I chose to do that so that I would have a little bit more of a resume coming in and kind of credibility from the school going into these salons. I did get a job at a salon, and they did still insist that I do an assistant program, but it was only 1 month. And in that time, I obviously I'm queer. And at the time I had a mullet and looked very queer. And I remember the salon owner, one of her older clients complained that she was uncomfortable by me, even though the whole salon was filled with gay men. I was the only lesbian in the salon. And so the salon owner paid me to leave. She gave me $1,500 to leave around Christmas. I probably should have sued, but I was 20, so I didn't know better. And I just left. And I remember wanting to give up on the industry. But I was like, screw that. Like, I know my value. So I did go into another salon. I found one that was actually struggling. And I remember telling the salon owner, like, I know I can fix your business. And she was just so desperate. Like, I came in, I got rid of her retail, I took over management, I was the lead stylist, I was instantly educating. And so ironically, separately in parallel form, David and I are like just ripping apart, until we kind of crash together. And I made that salon really successful. And then I left her, and it kind of went down after that, but that's okay. But I did get poached to go work for Aveda corporate, and I wanted to do something bigger in my career. I didn't know what it was, and I thought this would be a great next step. I worked at Aveda corporate for 8 years and taught and traveled the world and did all these fashion weeks and did all these really cool things. But during that time, like David said, we really started to realize like how most schools were run from product companies, and how there was a lot of, things happening in salons where they just weren't being supported in the way that they should.
All right, this is awesome. So this is great. It gives us so much context to y'all's brand and story. Your story gives so much context to I feel like the next part that's coming. But real quick, both of you said work for Aveda corporate. Does that mean that were you doing more than teaching? Were you because I am actually gonna be interviewing somebody who works for L'Oreal corporate, Pulp Riot specifically, and he's like works with the color, the chemists and stuff like that. So what was
so it was legally called Neil Corp, which was like AI South. They merged with Neil Corp, so it like we called it Aveda corporate, but it's not like up at Estee Lauder Aveda corporate. It's like
it's the
schools,
Southern distribution
education. Yeah, so like we had district up into DC and down to Florida.
But we were not involved in like the science or anything behind it. We were just in the education portion.
And were you working in salons while you were educating, or were you full-time? Okay.
Full-time.
Yeah.
All right, perfect.
We worked for HSN while we were educating.
Yeah, we did.
We worked for Home Shopping Network. That
we
was
were on
so much
TV
fun.
a lot.
That's cool.
If you Google me, you can see my long hair. I look like a televangelist.
Well, I'll send you, actually. I think I have pictures. If you remind me, I'll send you pictures. But they would cover up all my tattoos when I was on air, and like we would do like hair tutorials with the tools that we were selling, and we would do like 24-hour stints, and it was crazy.
Like 24 hours. You'd sleep in between the green room. I loved every minute of that.
Me too.
I loved working for Home Shopping Network. If anyone ever wants to work for a cool company doing hair, Home Shopping Network.
Go do Home Shopping Network.
That's amazing. Okay, so all right, so now that we got the baseline down of how y'all got to creating Destroy the Hairdresser, could you give us kind of like a little bit about what it is like you do? You can kind of deliver your whatever you want, however you want to communicate, because I feel like the audience has already gotten, if they didn't know you already, they've gotten the gist that you're looking to do business differently in the salon business model. So could you kind of give us your little spiel on who you are, or what Destroy the Hairdresser is? And then I'd love to hear some of I remember I was, so just kind of like context for the listener, I probably should have said this in the beginning. I met David and Cyd in person at Premiere Orlando. And there's like, your presentation had like a list of, like, you went through, I don't remember how many.
That was a glimpse. That was just a glimpse.
Okay. We went through our 10 methods.
Okay, so maybe you can kind of deliver who Destroy the Hairdresser is, what your mission is, and maybe what your 10 points are as an introduction, and then we can kind of wrap it up there, and then we'll go into and then the next time we talk, we'll dig into some depth on all that stuff. How does that sound?
That's awesome. Good. I'm just gonna pull up the website so I can read all the methods without it being.
I have a memorized script if you want me to say it, but
you do. That's amazing. But I
want to share your screen.
Oh yeah, we could share the screen for sure.
Yeah, let me do that real quick. My co-host. Okay, so you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, share screen. There we go. So our biggest thing is like we focus on helping salons future-proof their business through one-on-one coaching. We believe that the missing piece for salon owners and hairdressers is a one-on-one approach that is not connected to a larger brand. And our mission statement is 2 words. It's salon differently. That's our whole mission. We have a few foundational principles, how we, what we teach our students right away and what we're trying to really change in the industry are these 3 things. We help people work on their reactive system, how they perceive information, how they react to information. If you haven't figured out by now, the salon industry is really reactive, right? But we believe that you can't be proactive until you learn more about why and how you react. So we spend a lot of time with our students before we even get them to our methods that people find disruptive. We really train them on like, this is going to be disruptive, but how you react to it, this is what we're going to work on for a while. We also help build their emotional intelligence, helping them build stronger communication skills, leadership skills, anything that falls into emotional intelligence, helping them understand that they only have 100 years on the planet. So what do they really want to get out of life and their career? And then we also teach a concept called the vessel, which is helping people understand that everyone has a different capacity. Some people have a capacity for more than others. And one, you can grow that capacity, but also you need to understand that everyone coming to the table can only hold so much. And so these are our foundational principles that when you come into coaching, we spend about 3 months just on this before we actually help someone with their business. And the reason is because if we go right into our methods, it's too much. There isn't a lot of capacity, or there isn't an emotional intelligence, or there is a reaction to it. So we know that what we're delivering is so different that we've created a really large safety net for everyone in their psyche as they go through our program. So do you want to add to the principles at all?
Yeah, what's really awesome about this is that it kind of trickles through every student. Their whole life starts to change, like the way they interact with their clients, the way that they interact with their teams, the way they're interacting with even their partners or their friends or family. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things to watch as a coach, and watch our coaches coach this, because the students are truly transforming as a human being, which then can only trickle in to your business. We have a saying that says, how you do one thing is how you do all things. And so if we can change and create this transformative moment of like, I'm going to internally change what I want to be and show up as, like, in the industry, it's going to trickle through in every part of your life.
Yeah, this program is total transformation, not just business. And I think, we're really known for just like our intense business ideas, but when you're in coaching, it's such a transformational experience all the way around. And again, these are like those 3 pillars that really keep everything safe in that environment. These are all of our beautiful coaches, which we can talk about as well.
We have 9 coaches, by the way, and all of them were students that were coached by myself or David or one of our coaches. And they have created future-proof salons. They've opened salons using all of our methods. And now they have their own students and they're doing the same thing, which is really awesome.
We also, like, when we look at our philosophy around how we do things, one of the things is proactive risk-taking and boldness. Hairdressers naturally are bold individuals, but when it comes to their business, they're usually a little more submissive and they're looking for someone to kind of help them. So we're trying to teach people that if you use critical thinking and you use your emotional intelligence, that you have a lot of the answers already, and Googling them and going to a company that runs a retail line, that's probably not going to be the best thing for you, because that company is going to do what's best for them. So we really work on proactive risk taking. We really work on critical thinking and emotional intelligence, getting individuals to think for themselves, which is really funny because I think people assume that we want everyone to do what we say, but we actually don't. We want everyone to do what they think is best. And we offer an alternative to what's currently being provided. So critical thinking is huge, thinking on your own and making your own decisions, which has really empowered students to go back to retail companies and get what they need as opposed to buying into what they're being sold. So that's really exciting to watch. And then another one of our philosophies is helping increase personal responsibility and autonomy. And this is for all of our salon owners and for all of our hairdressers, anyone in the program and anyone that works for us or anyone that works for them. These are really the things that we focus on, kind of big picture. After the philosophies are kind of digested, after the principles and the foundational principles are digested, then we go into business, because then the person's really ready to receive it. When we do talks like at Premiere or we do classes in person, we don't have enough time to transform someone's life, right? So what we do,
we have to get them excited to want to transform their life.
Yeah. So what we do is we throw our methods at them. And what we know about our methods is that our methods are, people say they're disruptive. I think what's funny is that I think they're the most clear versions of a method you could probably get. And I think them being disruptive says more about where the industry is than where we're coming from. So we throw our methods knowing that most people aren't using our methods, or they're using some sort of version and it's not tightened up. So we give them these, and we know that at the end of the day, it's going to kind of make them go, okay, I understand that they think we should remove the front desk. I understand the hourly pricing. I understand going gratuity free. But the coaching aspect is when someone's like, I don't know how to do it. I know why we should do it, but I don't know how to do it. And that's why we have one-on-one coaching. And when Cyd and I first started out, I remember we would sit in our apartment on the floor, and we would like do our podcast. And it's like, we just want
one mic,
help.
By the way.
We had one mic between the two of us. But we just wanted to help people. And it was like, we didn't have a program like we do now. We just had these concepts. And if people wanted our help, we were going to provide that to them. And people did. And we provided it. And it's just made the company even more clear. Like, we have so much clarity on these methods. But I want to be clear that these methods are not the only way to do things. These are just these are the philosophies and teachings that we have perfected, that we feel comfortable sharing with people. And this isn't the only way to do things, but it's definitely a different way to do things. And the students that we have using these methods are making more money, working a lot less, having less burnout, having deeper connections with clients and staff, and seeing the industry very differently than they had seen it before.
Cool.
Can you scroll down a little?
Yeah, let's hear the methods. Let's see what they got here.
Can you still see me if I do this? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we teach is hourly pricing, which we could do a whole podcast just on that topic. But essentially, you know, Cyd says it best, like people are always afraid of hourly pricing. But the funny thing is they're like, okay, my haircut's $60 and and it's an hour appointment. It's like, so you're already charging for your time. You just don't associate it as an overall price. And so what we've done is we've helped people take hourly pricing and get paid a rate, which is a lot of how celebrity stylists get paid. Is I get paid a rate or by the hour. Doesn't matter what I'm doing at that time. I'm just getting paid for that time. So as hairdressers living in New York City, we were like, you can do that in a salon. And then, you know, there's obviously the argument around like, well, you know, color should be more because it costs more and cutting should be less because it costs less. And our response to that is really, if you're looking at things based on service, then yes, but we look at things based on the artist, and the artist should be charging the same all across the board. I should not be worth less because I do hair cutting, and Cyd be worth more because she do hair color. And for those of you that do both, your cut and color and extension, like all your services should not be different prices because that's just overhead. What hourly pricing does is what's the rate that you need to charge to cover your costs, but also that's worth your time. You are not worth a different amount based on what you're doing. And so really teaching people, really giving them consciousness around the reason we do it, and we're so strict about the way that we do it, is because it's not about the service, it's about the artist that we're really focusing on. So do you want to add to hourly?
No, I think hourly and gratuity free and genderless pricing all kind of go into one, because when you're charging your rate, there is no tip, there is no gender. And so they all kind of lump into one, but we've separated them because each topic really does deserve its own spotlight when we're teaching it within our program and the consciousness behind each method.
Yeah, gratuity free is always an interesting one. Besides the fact that historically it is rooted in racism and sexism, which that's just historic. The other issue is that you're giving the power to the client to decide your value, which goes against what we're teaching in hourly pricing. So when we say gratuity free, what we're not saying is that it's built into the price. That seems to be a thing people say now, like, oh, I don't do tipping because it's built into the price. That we don't even teach that. We don't do tipping because there's no such thing. Like, we've removed it completely. We're
charging our worth, so we're not living off of our tips. We're making a fair living. We're making the salary we want in a big sense. We're getting our taxes at the end of the year. Like, on paper, we're building wealth and we're making what we want to make. And it's no longer this consciousness of like, let's fight against like the government. It's like, no, like we can't get out of this game. We might as well play it to our benefit and like create wealth on a bigger scale, because a lot of these younger hairstylists are living off their tips. They're not really diving into their taxes and not trying to build wealth on paper. And what happens later in life is they're unable to buy a house. They don't have good credit. They're not able to get investments for businesses. They can't get a car. And so we're really trying to teach hairdressers big picture early on of what that means and how it's going to affect them down the road.
All right. So yeah, so gratuity free, hourly pricing and genderless pricing, you know, it's fun. Like genderless pricing, I don't feel like I talk about. There is no such thing.
It's 2023.
There's no such thing as gender in hair. There's no such thing as gender in general. But I think when we gender hair, forget about the social aspect. Like, legally speaking, charging people different amounts based on their sex is considered a pink tax. In most states, it's already illegal. And if it's not illegal in your state yet, it most likely will be very soon. So not only are these, I think some people think these are like social approaches, but not only are they social, they are social approaches, but they're also really powerful financial approaches. So one of the things we teach is removing the front desk, mainly because today with technology, you can have it automated. And also what we have found is that most salon owners are paying more to the front desk as a total than they are for themselves. And if there's one thing you know about business is that if the business owner isn't making money, that business most likely won't last. And I don't think people realize the desk is as big of an issue as it is. We already talked about genderless pricing. Station sharing is something that Cyd and I came up with because we were jumping around from salon to salon in New York City, and we didn't want to work at any specific salon as an employee. So we made offers to all these different salons, like, if you have chairs available, I will come, but I want to still make commission. I don't want to rent the chair. So we would bounce around with our clients to different salons, and I would just make whatever the commission was at that salon. I didn't want to bring color or bring all my stuff, and Cyd didn't want to do that. So I'd have an appointment over here at this salon. I have an appointment over here at this salon. And basically when we applied for the jobs, we were like, this is what we're going to do. So if you're not into that, that's fine. We're going to just go find a place that will let us. And a lot of salons did it. And then we saw that other people wanted to do it too. And so now it's one of our biggest methods that helps salons make the most profit in their business. We also recommend unlimited time off, which is in 2023 kind of a no-brainer. It brings up a lot of fear for salon owners, but what we have found is that by offering unlimited time off, people work more and they work more efficiently and they're much happier. Limitless pricing. This is really focused on allowing the stylist to choose their hourly rate and not basing their pricing on benchmarks or whatever the salon owner feels. It's really allowing the stylist to take that ownership and have that autonomy and personal responsibility over choosing their pricing. We also do a charity focus. So our salons are required to give 1% of their profits to a charity of their choice. And as their company grows, we also encourage them to increase that percentage as well.
This removes the whole idea of like, I have to be affordable to give back rather than like, let's build real wealth so we can actually use our money to make real changes in our community.
It also gets rid of like, this month's breast cancer awareness month, and this month is liver cancer awareness month, and this month is the pride month, like, and then everyone's trying to donate randomly. This is like, you don't have to do that. It's more beneficial to charities if they have a consistent flow of income than random months that do nothing but cause chaos. So I think we're trying to get rid of the roller coaster of donation and like, streamline it into a good cause. We also have something called open door policy, which goes into the station sharing as well. We believe that stylists should be able to work anywhere and everywhere, even if they're in a commissioned salon. So they should be able to work at my salon, they should be able to work at your salon, and they should be able to work anywhere. And the reason for that is because the alternative is trapping them and then destroying them and then, I don't know, making them sign a non-compete and then suing them. Like the alternative, there really is no alternative.
It's destruction.
Yeah, hairdressers need freedom. They're like a bird. They need to flap their wings. They want to try other things. And if your salon is great, what's going to happen is they're going to go to other places and have their experience there. And maybe it works that they stay at both places, or maybe they're like, you know what, I've tried other places and your salon is the best. So the only people that actually have a problem with open door policies are usually the salon owners that know they're doing horrible things. Retail free is really the idea of removing all the shelves from the business, removing all the physical retail from the business, and switching over to affiliate links so that you can make 30% profit on your sales as opposed to
none.
As opposed to none. And also helps remove cash. What's the word I'm looking for? Your inflated cash flow that a lot of people assume is profit, but is not. So retail will look like you are making money in your bank account, but when you ask the salon owner where the money is in their pocket, they cannot find it. So this is always a really big shift for people, but it's actually, I would say in the last couple of years, is the easiest method. Like most people are
we're just
already into
bringing attention to what people are spending just to stock retail. Then they have to pay someone to dust it and manage it and inventory, and it's like,
and they have to buy it again.
Then they'd buy it again, and then when you really look at the overhead cost of it, it's like, was it really worth it on the grand scheme of things when you could literally just utilize technology and social media and all of the things, the internet?
And the last one is going cashless. No one should be counting a drawer in 2023. There should not be dirty money just being like money is gross. And also it streamlines your ability to do your taxes, it streamlines your payroll, it streamlines your back end. And we then connect people with accountants that will help straighten out all their financial stuff because we are not financial advisors.
I will say too, with the cashless, what's over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of salons that have been broken into, and like all of our DTH salons that maybe did get broken into, they didn't have retail, they didn't have a front desk. They took their iPad home that they used for checking out because that's what they have. They didn't have cash, so like nothing. All the stylists, because they do station sharing, would take all their stuff home. So there was like nothing in the salon, and all that there was a broken door or a broken window. And so it really prevents things like that, because salons usually are targeted to get broken into because of the value of everything inside. And when you use our methods, it kind of eliminates that. And with insurance, that window or door was fixed pretty quickly.
Yeah, this happened to one of our coaches, and she's like, they broke the in and they didn't touch anything, and they must have just left after they realized there was nothing to take.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are our methods. That's what we teach. And then, of course, a lot of transformation of mindset and consciousness around all of that.
Yeah. Awesome. And with the one-on-one coaching, these are the methods that slowly the coaches are going over with the students, because the students are coming up to us to learn these methods, but they're also like one-on-one. They're talking to their coach every day. They have calls with their coach. They can text their coach. Like, you fully have a coach in your pocket. So our coaches are helping them put out fires, troubleshoot, create solutions. Our coaches are holding their students accountable. They're like, you're struggling, but you won't raise your price. You know, they're really in depth of a person in the pocket of these salon owners and hairdressers. And that's what's been such the like epitome of our success, is because the support is so elevated, and no one else is doing one-on-one coaching the way that we are in the way we are.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to go through and give us an introduction to both your stories and your business. I think it'd be really fun to dig into a couple of them. I took a couple of notes. The no tipping, because I know that's a hot topic. And then the station sharing, unlimited time off, open door policy. To me, that kind of sounds like it is one. And then the retail free, and the retail free stuff. So how about we come back together and we dig into some of these and kind of maybe get into some nuances. I'd like to hear what your naysayers say. I have some points. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. How does that sound for next time we get together?
Sounds perfect. We're excited.
Awesome. All right. Well, until then, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you.